News of the Desolation Array's destruction spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every subjugated species, every enslaved world, every resistance cell hiding in the shadows, they all heard the same impossible message. The Kralvan had failed. Again. For 3 centuries, the Empire had ruled through fear. The fear that resistance was futile, that the Kralvan were unstoppable, that defeat was inevitable. But now that fear began to crack. If humanity could destroy the Desolation Array, maybe other impossible things were possible too. Maybe freedom was not just a dream. Across dozens of worlds, rebellions ignited. The Vryn Hive launched coordinated strikes on Kralvan supply depots, destroying enough resources to cripple entire battle groups. The Althari sabotaged communication networks, plunging Kralvan-occupied systems into darkness. The Thalen workers in orbital shipyards staged mass uprisings, seizing control of facilities and turning weapons meant for the Empire against their oppressors. The galaxy was waking up, and it was angry. High Commander Varkesh returned to the Kralvan homeworld in disgrace. He had lost the array, lost hundreds of ships, lost the respect of his subordinates. The Emperor summoned him to the throne room where the High Council waited to pass judgment, but Varkesh did not come to accept punishment. He came with a plan, a final gambit that would either restore his honor or doom the Empire. "My Emperor," Varkesh said, "I propose we commit the Grand Armada. Every ship, every soldier, every resource. We strike at Earth directly and end this war in one overwhelming assault. If we destroy humanity's homeworld, the resistance will collapse. The galaxy will remember what happens to those who defy us." The Emperor considered this. The Grand Armada had never been defeated. 10,000 warships, the combined might of the entire Empire. Using it meant stripping defenses from every sector, leaving the Empire vulnerable to rebellion. But if it succeeded, the Kralvan would crush the human threat forever and restore order through terror. "Very well," the Emperor said. "You will have the Grand Armada. But understand this, Varkesh. If you fail, you will be executed. Not quickly, not honorably. Your death will be slow and public, an example to any who believe failure is acceptable." Varkesh bowed. "I will not fail, my Emperor." Admiral Dahyun received intelligence reports about the Grand Armada's mobilization. 10,000 ships. The number was almost incomprehensible. Even with all their allies, humanity could field maybe 500 vessels. They would be outnumbered 20 to 1. But Dahyun saw an opportunity hidden within the threat. If the Kralvan committed everything to attacking Earth, their empire would be exposed. Rebellions could strike at undefended systems, liberate worlds, destroy infrastructure. The war would not be decided in a single battle. It would be decided across 1,000 fronts simultaneously. He contacted Ambassador Min-Young, who had spent months building networks of resistance cells. "The Kralvan are coming with everything they have. We need to coordinate with every allied species, every rebel group. When the Grand Armada arrives at Earth, we launch simultaneous attacks across the Empire, hit their administrative centers, their shipyards, their slave processing facilities. We turn their strength into weakness." Min-Young understood immediately. "You are not trying to win a battle. You are trying to break an empire." "Exactly," Dahyun said. "The Kralvan believe this is about military superiority. They are wrong. This is about showing the galaxy that tyranny can be defeated, that freedom is worth dying for. If we do this right, we do not just save Earth. We liberate everyone." The planning took weeks, coordination across dozens of species, synchronizing attacks light years apart. Every resistance cell received their targets. Every rebel fleet prepared for deployment. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the moment when everything would change. The Grand Armada arrived at Earth's orbit like a storm that blotted out the sun. 10,000 warships, so many that their mass created gravitational distortions. They filled the sky with metal and weapons, a promise of extinction delivered in steel. But they were not alone. As the Kralvan fleet emerged from hyperspace, so did humanity's allies. Ships from every corner of the galaxy, Thalen carriers, Dracon cruisers, Vryn swarm ships, Althari energy vessels, Corvan raiders, dozens of other species, some whose names humans had never heard, all united by a single purpose. The defensive fleet numbered 2,000 ships, still outnumbered 5 to 1, still facing impossible odds. but no longer alone. Varkesh stared at the assembled forces in disbelief. How had the humans gathered so many allies? How had subjugated species found the courage to openly defy the Empire? This should have been a simple execution. Instead, it was a war. All ships, he transmitted. Destroy them. Leave nothing alive. The battle for Earth began. Entire sections of orbital space ignited with weapons fire. Thousands of ships fighting in a space so crowded that every shot found a target. Plasma beams crossed railgun fire. Missiles collided mid-flight. Energy shields flared and collapsed under relentless bombardment. The void became a hellscape of burning metal and dying stars. Captain Jiwan commanded a squadron of quantum torpedo bombers. She led them through the chaos, targeting Kralvan dreadnoughts and exploiting every weakness. Her pilots fought with the skill born of desperation. They knew this was humanity's last stand. Win or die. No other options existed. The Thalen carriers deployed drone swarms by the thousands, overwhelming Kralvan point defenses, creating openings for larger ships to strike. When the carriers were destroyed, their drones continued fighting. Automated warriors that did not know fear or retreat. The Dracon heavy cruisers proved their worth one final time. When their weapons failed and their shields collapsed, they accelerated into Kralvan formations on suicide runs. Massive armored vessels ramming dreadnoughts and exploding in spectacular displays of sacrifice and fury. The Althari energy projectors disrupted Kralvan shields across entire sectors of the battlefield. Where their beams touched, defenses weakened. Allied ships concentrated fire on those gaps, tearing through armor and destroying warships that had seemed invincible. As the battle raged around Earth, across the galaxy, rebellion struck. Friend forces liberated their homeworld in a brutal ground campaign. Thalen saboteurs destroyed the Empire's primary shipyard. Althari freed millions of prisoners from containment facilities. Corvan raiders hit supply lines. Every enslaved species struck at their oppressors simultaneously. The Kralvan Empire, stretched too thin, began to fracture. Garrison commanders called for reinforcements that could not be sent. Governors watched their worlds burn. The centralized authority that had held the Empire together started to collapse. Ambassador Minyung broadcast a message across all Kralvan communication channels. Not to the leadership, to the soldiers, the common warriors who had been told they fought for glory and honor. Soldiers of the Kralvan Empire, she said, look around you. Look at what your leaders have built. An empire of slaves and corpses. Worlds burned, civilizations destroyed. For what? So a few generals can sit on thrones. You are dying for their ambition. You are killing for their greed. But you do not have to. Surrender. Leave the battlefield. Go home. This war is over. Your empire is falling. Do not die defending something already dead. Her words, combined with footage of liberated worlds and destroyed Kralvan facilities, created chaos in enemy ranks. Some ships continued fighting with fanatic loyalty. Others hesitated. A few openly defected, turning their weapons on their own fleet. Varkesh watched his carefully assembled armada dissolve into chaos. Morale collapsed. Discipline shattered. Ships fled without orders. Captains refused to fight. The Grand Armada, undefeated for centuries, was dying not from overwhelming force but from internal collapse. He opened a channel to his remaining loyal ships. All vessels fight to the death. Anyone who retreats will be executed. We do not surrender. The transmission ended. Varkesh's own officers had killed him. His second-in-command appeared on the communication screen. This is Captain Zarak of the Eternal Dominion. High Commander Varkesh is dead. I am assuming command. All Kralvan ships cease fire immediately. We surrender. Repeat, we surrender. The battle stopped. Not all at once. Fighting continued in scattered pockets as word spread, but gradually the weapons fire ceased. Ships powered down. The Grand Armada, broken and defeated, surrendered to a coalition they had been sent to destroy. Admiral Daehyun stood in the command center, watching the battlefield fall silent. Around him, officers wept with relief and exhaustion. They had won, against impossible odds, against an empire that had ruled for 300 years. They had won, but the cost was devastating. Over 1,000 Allied ships destroyed, hundreds of thousands dead, cities on Earth damaged by debris from orbital combat. The victory was real, but so was the price. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed. The Kralvan homeworld surrendered. Their emperor was tried for war crimes. Liberated species began rebuilding their civilizations. Old grudges and conflicts resurfaced, but so did hope. the possibility of a better future. Earth became the symbolic heart of a new galactic coalition. Not because humans had conquered anyone, but because they had refused to surrender, because they had inspired others to fight, because when the galaxy needed someone to stand against tyranny, humanity had risen. The emergency council chamber buzzed with desperate voices. Representatives from 12 different species argued over displays showing red territory markers spreading across the galactic map. Each red zone meant another system lost to the Varathian Empire. Each one meant billions of lives under enemy control. Admiral Day One stood at the tactical display, his face showing the weight of countless battles. His gray uniform carried more medals than most officers earned in a lifetime. None of those medals mattered now. The Alliance fleet he commanded for 20 years was gone, destroyed 3 days ago at Kasari Council. Leader Threx slammed his scaled fist on the table. The reptilian leader's crest flared bright orange with stress. He spoke in the common tongue, though his translator struggled with his accent. We have no more fleets, no more resources, no more time. The Varathians will reach our core worlds within 2 weeks. Threx's voice cracked. We must discuss surrender terms. Silence fell across the chamber. The word surrender hung in the air like poison gas. Some council members nodded slowly. Others stared at their hands. All of them knew what Varathian rule meant. The Empire did not believe in mercy. Day One closed his eyes. He remembered the burning ships at Kasari, the distress calls that went unanswered because no help existed, young officers who followed his orders into death. He had promised them victory. He had lied. A quiet voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Perhaps surrender is premature. All heads turned toward Ambassador Hyejin. The human diplomat sat alone at the far end of the council table. She had occupied that seat for 5 years, representing Earth in alliance matters. She rarely spoke during meetings. When she did, her words were carefully chosen. Threx's crest shifted to angry red. Ambassador, with respect, humanity has contributed almost nothing to this war. 3 supply ships, 2 medical frigates. Your species signed the Mutual Defense Treaty but sent no battle fleets. His tone made clear what he thought of that choice. Hyejin stood slowly. She wore a simple black suit, no military decorations or ceremonial robes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical style. She looked more like a clerk than a diplomat. That appearance was intentional. You are correct, Council Leader. Earth has not sent battle fleets. She walked toward the tactical display. We have watched this war carefully. We studied Varathian tactics. We analyzed their technology. We waited. Waited? A council member from the insectoid Krell species chittered angrily. You waited while we died? Yes. Hyejin showed no emotion. Humanity learned an important lesson before we joined the galactic community. We learned it through much suffering in our own history. We learned that entering a war too early, with insufficient understanding, leads to disaster. Daewon studied the human ambassador. He had worked with her on supply coordination. She was efficient, polite, and kept mostly to herself. Earth's contribution to the war effort had been minimal but reliable. He never questioned why they held back their military. Now he wondered what she was planning. Threx's scales rattled with frustration. Your lesson comes too late, Ambassador. We have nothing left. The Varathians have superior numbers, superior weapons, and momentum. Even if Earth sent every ship you possess, it would not be enough. You assume we would send many ships? Hyejin tapped the tactical display. Tell me, Council Leader, what would you prefer? 1,000 ships that might slow the Varathian advance? Or 1 ship that could stop it? The chamber erupted in confused voices. 1 ship? The human had lost her mind. The Varathian core fleet alone numbered 300 capital ships. 1 vessel could do nothing against such power. Daewon raised his hand for silence. The voices died down. He looked at Hyejin with new interest. Ambassador, explain? She pulled a small datapad from her jacket. Her fingers moved across the surface, entering a long sequence. When humanity first developed faster-than-light travel, we made contact with several species. Some friendly, some not. We discovered the galaxy was dangerous, more dangerous than we imagined. Hyejin looked up from the pad. So we asked ourselves a question. How does a newcomer survive among established powers? How does the smallest nation avoid being conquered? She paused. The answer became our primary focus for 30 years. 30 years of what? Threx demanded. Preparation. Hyejin finished her sequence on the datapad. Earth's greatest minds worked on a single project. We built something that would guarantee our survival. Something that would make any aggressor reconsider. We called it Project Absolute Zero. She transmitted data to the Council's main display. Technical schematics appeared. Most of the information was encrypted, showing only a ship outline. But the size marker made several Council members gasp. The vessel was enormous, larger than any dreadnought in the Alliance fleet. For 3 decades, this ship waited in Earth orbit, Hyjin continued, waiting for the moment it would be needed, waiting for the moment when deployment would matter most. She looked directly at Threx. That moment is now. Daewon stepped closer to the display. His tactical mind absorbed the limited information. The ship's power signature was massive. Its design unlike anything he recognized. Human engineering often took unusual approaches, but this seemed beyond their normal style. What does this ship do? Daewon asked quietly. Hyjin met his eyes. It ends wars, Admiral. That is all you need to know for now. Threx stood up so fast his chair fell over. This is insane. You expect us to pin our hopes on one untested human ship? A ship we have never seen in action? I expect nothing, Council Leader. Hyjin's voice remained calm. I am simply informing you that Earth is entering this war. We are deploying the Absolute Zero to Alliance space. It will intercept Varathian forces within 72 hours. She pressed her thumb to the data pad. A authentication confirmed message flashed. The authorization is sent. The ship is already moving. The council chamber exploded into arguments. Some members called it suicide. Others called it humanity's arrogance. A few voices expressed hope, though most thought it was false hope. Daewon ignored the noise. He studied the ship outline on the display. Something about its design bothered him. The way the hull curved. The positioning of what looked like weapon ports. This was not designed for conventional warfare. Hyjin walked toward the chamber exit. She paused at the door and looked back. You will see soon enough what humanity has prepared. The Varathians will see it first. As she left, Daewon noticed something in her expression. Not confidence, not fear. Something else. It reminded him of the look combat veterans carried. The look of someone who knew terrible things were about to happen. Far above Earth, in the darkness of high orbit, massive clamps released. A ship that had waited 3 decades began to move. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Its engines powered up with a sound that resonated through space itself. Inside the vessel, crew members took their stations. Most were young. All were volunteers. They knew their mission. They knew the risks. They also knew what the ship could do. The UESN Absolute Zero turned away from Earth and engaged its faster-than-light drive. The energy signature it created rippled across the solar system. Every sensor within a dozen light-years detected something massive moving through space. Something new. Something that changed everything. Captain Ji-hoon watched Earth shrink in the view screen. He had lived on that blue planet for 28 years. He might never see it again. The thought should have scared him. Instead, he felt only focus. He turned from the view screen and walked onto the bridge of the Absolute Zero. The space was larger than most ship bridges. 50 crew stations formed a circle around the command platform. Every station was occupied. Every crew member wore the dark gray uniform of Earth's deep space fleet. Status report, Ji-hoon said as he took the captain's chair. Commander Yanwoo looked up from the tactical station. She was tall with sharp features and eyes that never stopped analyzing. All systems operational, Captain. FTL drive stable. Entropy field generators at standby. We are ready, Ji-hoon nodded. He tapped his command console, bringing up the ship's status. Every indicator showed green. 3 decades of preparation had led to this moment. 30 years of humanity's best minds working on a single question. How do you win a war against impossible odds? The answer was the ship around him. A door at the back of the bridge opened. Chief Engineer Sang-hee entered, wiping her hands on a cloth. She was short and compact, with oil stains on her uniform that never quite washed out. She had spent more time inside this ship than anyone alive. The primary systems are perfect, Sang-hee announced. I checked every connection personally. The entropy field will work exactly as designed. She paused. It better. We only get one shot at this. Ji-hoon gestured to an empty seat near his command chair. Sang-hee sat down with a tired sigh. She had not slept in 2 days. None of them had slept much since receiving deployment orders. Tell me about the ship, Ji-hoon said quietly. I have read all the technical files. But you built this. You understand it better than anyone. What are we really flying? Sang-hee looked around the bridge. She saw young faces trying to hide fear. She saw veterans trying to project confidence. They all deserved to know the truth. The Absolute Zero is not a warship, she began, not in the traditional sense. It carries no missiles, no plasma cannons, no kinetic accelerators. She pulled up a holographic display showing the ship's core. Instead, it manipulates fundamental physics. The hologram showed a spherical device at the ship's center. Energy patterns swirled around it in complex patterns. Sang-hee pointed to specific nodes. This is the entropy field generator. It creates a controlled region of space where we can alter thermodynamic laws. We can make things colder. Much colder. Cold enough to stop molecules from moving. Yanwu leaned forward from her station. How cold? Approaching absolute zero, Sang-hee replied. The temperature where all atomic motion ceases. The temperature where chemistry stops working. The temperature where physics itself changes. A communications officer spoke up nervously. What happens to enemy ships in this field? Everything stops, Sang-hee said simply. Their reactors stop generating power. Their weapons stop firing. Their life support stops functioning. The ships become frozen tombs floating in space. She let that image sink in. We do not destroy enemies. We simply turn them off. Silence filled the bridge. Ji-hoon watched his crew process this information. Some looked horrified. Others looked determined. All of them understood the weight of what they carried. Why did Earth build this? The question came from Medical Officer Minji. She sat at her station monitoring crew vital signs. We had other options. We could have built a conventional fleet. Why this? Ji-hoon stood and walked to the main view screen. He stared at the stars rushing past as the ship traveled through FTL space. He remembered the history lessons, the debates, the decisions that led to this moment. 40 years ago, humanity made first contact with the Taloran species, Ji-hoon said. It was peaceful. We exchanged technology and culture. We thought the galaxy was friendly. He turned to face his crew. Then the Taloran Civil War started. We watched their civilization tear itself apart. Billions died. We could do nothing. He pulled up historical images on the view screen. Ships burning, planets under bombardment, refugees fleeing destroyed worlds. Earth's leaders realized something. The galaxy was not safe. Species rose and fell. Wars consumed entire sectors. We were newcomers. We were weak. We needed protection. Ji-hoon changed the display to show early designs of the Absolute Zero. But we could not match established power ship for ship. We lacked the resources. We lacked the time. So we chose a different path. We would build one vessel. One weapon. Something so powerful that no one would dare attack us. A deterrent, Yanwu said quietly. Exactly. Ji-hoon sat back down. Earth's nuclear weapons almost destroyed our species centuries ago. We learned that some weapons exist not to be used but to prevent war. The Absolute Zero was supposed to be that weapon, a guarantee that attacking Earth would cost too much. But now we are using it, Minji observed. Now we have no choice. Ji-hoon pulled up tactical data showing Varathian movements. The Alliance is our neighbor. If they fall, the Varathian Empire will border Earth directly. We would face the same fate. Better to fight now with allies than later alone. Sang-hee checked her engineering readouts. We are approaching the jump coordinates. 30 minutes until we drop out of FTL near the Andara system. The mood on the bridge shifted. Theory and history gave way to immediate reality. They were going into combat. Real combat against an enemy that had crushed the Alliance fleet. Ji-hoon stood and addressed his crew. Listen to me. All of you volunteered for this mission. You knew the risks. You knew we might not come home. He made eye contact with as many crew members as possible. But you also know what this ship can do. You know that we carry humanity's hope. The Alliance's hope. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. In a few minutes, we will face Varathian forces. They outnumber us. They have more experience. They expect to win. A slight smile crossed his face. They have never faced anything like the Absolute Zero. They have never fought an enemy that rewrites the rules of battle. Yanwu began running tactical simulations on her console. Captain Varathian doctrine relies on overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority. Their ships have thick armor and powerful shields. How will the entropy field affect their defenses? Sang-He answered before Ji-hoon could. Shields work by deflecting energy, but the entropy field does not attack with energy. It removes energy, takes it away. Shields cannot stop that, neither can armor. When we activate the field, everything inside its range will experience the same effect. How large is the field's range? Someone asked. At full power, 10,000 kilometers, Sang-He replied. Large enough to affect multiple capital ships simultaneously. But there is a cost. She looked worried. Running the field at full power drains our reactors quickly. We can maintain maximum output for maybe 30 minutes. After that, we need hours to recharge. Ji-hoon absorbed this limitation. 30 minutes. If they could not break Varathian resistance in that time, they would be vulnerable. The enemy could overwhelm them with sheer numbers while the absolute zero recharged. 10 minutes to emergence, the navigation officer announced. Ji-hoon returned to his command chair. His hands moved across the controls, checking weapon systems. Except these were not traditional weapons. The entropy field generator, the thermal manipulation arrays, the space-time distortion projectors. All of it was theory until now. All of it was about to be tested against a real enemy. All stations battle readiness, Ji-hoon ordered. Across the bridge, crew members confirmed their readiness. Green lights appeared on his console one by one. Minji's medical sensors showed elevated heart rates across the crew. Fear was natural. Ji-hoon felt it himself. But fear could be controlled, used, turned into focus. 2 minutes. Navigation called out. Ji-hoon took a deep breath. 30 years of preparation. Countless hours of training. Humanity's greatest technological achievement. It all came down to the next few hours. Emergence in 10 seconds, navigation announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dropping out of FTL now. The absolute zero slipped back into normal space at the edge of the Andara system. Sensors immediately detected 23 Varathian warships occupying the conquered territory. Every one of those ships turned toward the human vessel. Every weapon locked on target. The war was about to change forever. Fleet Master Zorgath stared at the sensor display with confusion. A single ship had just appeared at the edge of his patrol zone. One vessel. Large, yes, but alone. The reading made no tactical sense. He was a career officer of the Varathian Empire. 20 campaigns, 40 victories. His scales bore the deep purple coloring of a warrior who had never known defeat. The Alliance forces fled before him like prey. Their courage broke when facing superior Varathian power. Identify that vessel, Zorgath commanded from his command throne. His sensor officer worked frantically. Unknown configuration, Fleet Master. The design does not match any Alliance patterns. Energy signature is massive, much larger than our capital ships. Origin? Transmissions indicate human registry. Earth Fleet designation UESN Absolute Zero. Zorgath's crest flared with amusement. Humans, the species that had contributed nothing to the war. He had read intelligence reports about Earth, a minor power. Small fleet. Limited resources. They signed the Alliance Treaty but sent only support vessels, cowards hiding behind stronger allies. Now they sent one ship. One single ship against his battle group of 23 warships. The arrogance was almost admirable. Open a channel, Zorgath ordered. He would give these humans one chance to flee. Then he would add their ship to his list of kills. Aboard the Absolute Zero, Ji-hoon received the incoming transmission. He nodded to the communications officer. Put it through. Zorgath's image appeared on the main view screen. The Varathian Fleet Master was impressive. 2.5 meters tall. Armored scales covering powerful muscles. Eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence. Behind him, Ji-hoon could see the bridge of a Varathian dreadnought. Weapon stations. Tactical displays. All showing the Absolute Zero surrounded by enemy ships. Human vessel. Zorgath spoke in the common tongue. His voice was deep and confident. You have entered Varathian territory. You are outnumbered and outgunned. I offer you one opportunity to turn around and flee. If you refuse, I will destroy your ship and everyone aboard. Ji-hoon stood slowly. He kept his expression neutral. Fleet Master Zorgath, I am Captain Ji-hoon of Earth's Deep Space Fleet. Your forces occupy Alliance territory. The Andara system belongs to the Alliance. You are the invaders here. Zorgath laughed. The sound was harsh and mocking. The Alliance is broken. Their fleets are destroyed. Their will is shattered. This system is now Varathian. He leaned forward. You have 60 seconds to retreat. After that you die. No. Ji-hoon's voice was calm, almost gentle. Fleet Master, you have one chance to withdraw your forces from this system. Leave Alliance space. Return to your empire. If you refuse, I will disable every ship under your command. The Varathian Fleet Master stared in disbelief. Then he laughed again, louder this time. His bridge crew joined in. The humans were insane. Disable my ships? You are one vessel. I command 23 warships, each one capable of destroying you alone. 45 seconds, Ji-hoon said quietly. I recommend you use them wisely. Zorgath's amusement turned to anger. His scales flushed dark red. How dare this human show such disrespect? You will regret your arrogance. All ships weapons free. Target that vessel. Destroy it. The transmission ended. Ji-hoon looked at his tactical officer. Yanwu, status of enemy forces? All Varathian ships are charging weapons, Yanwu reported. Her voice was steady despite the situation. Plasma batteries. Missile tubes. Kinetic accelerators. They will fire in approximately 20 seconds. Sanghi entropy field status? The chief engineer checked her console. Generators at full power. Field projectors aligned. We are ready, Captain. Ji-hoon took a deep breath. Everything he had trained for led to this moment. 3 decades of Earth's resources. The hopes of billions. Success or failure would be decided in the next few minutes. Activate entropy field, he ordered. Maximum range. Sanghi pressed the activation sequence. Deep within the absolute zero, the massive generators spun up. Energy poured into the field projectors. Space itself began to change around the ship. The effect was invisible to normal eyes. But sensors showed it immediately. A sphere of altered physics expanded from the absolute zero, 10,000 kilometers in diameter, growing faster than any ship could escape. The sphere touched the first Varathian ships. On Zorgath's dreadnought, alarm suddenly screamed. His weapons officer looked up in panic. Fleet Master, power levels dropping. Reactors are losing containment. Shields are failing. What? That is impossible. Zorgath grabbed the armrests of his command throne. Fire all weapons now. The weapons officer frantically worked his controls. Nothing responded. Systems are not responding. Temperature readings are falling rapidly. Fleet Master, the reactor is going cold. Everything is going cold. Across the Varathian battle group, the same scene repeated. Powerful warships simply stopped functioning. Their reactors ceased generating energy. Their weapons went silent. Their engines powered down. Life support systems struggled as temperature plummeted. Zorgath watched his displays go dark one by one. Emergency lighting flickered on. The temperature on the bridge dropped so fast his breath created fog. His crew stared at their controls in terror. Nothing worked. Nothing responded. Through the viewport he saw his fleet. 23 warships floating dead in space. No lights, no power, no movement. In less than 30 seconds, the human ship had disabled his entire force without firing a single shot. Aboard the Absolute Zero, Yanwu monitored the results. All enemy vessels are disabled, Captain. Their power signatures have dropped to near zero. No weapons activity, no engine activity. They are completely helpless. Ji-hoon felt no satisfaction, only grim determination. Open a channel to the Varathian flagship. Emergency frequencies only. They should have enough backup power for communications. A weak signal connected. Zorgath's face appeared on the screen. The confident warrior was gone. In his place was a confused and frightened commander, watching his career end. What have you done? His voice shook. What is this weapon? I told you what would happen, Ji-hoon replied. Your ships are disabled, not destroyed. Your crews are alive, but you cannot fight. You cannot maneuver. You are at my mercy. He let that reality sink in. I am deactivating the entropy field now. Your ships will regain power slowly. It will take approximately 6 hours for your reactors to restart fully. By then, Alliance reinforcements will arrive. You and your crews will be taken as prisoners of war. No, Zorgath whispered. This cannot be. We are the Varathian Empire. We do not lose. We do not surrender. You already have, Ji-hoon said quietly. But this can end here. Or it can continue. That choice belongs to your emperor. He changed his tone. Became harder. More direct. Tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them that humanity has entered this war. Tell them we have weapons they cannot match. Tell them to withdraw from Alliance space or face the Absolute Zero again. Ji-hoon ended the transmission. He looked at Sanghi. Deactivate the field. Begin cooldown procedures. The chief engineer nodded and shut down the entropy field generators. The altered region of space returned to normal. But the damage was done. 23 Vorathian warships drifted powerless. Their crews alive but defeated. Minji checked crew vital signs. Captain, several crew members are showing stress reactions. Heart rates elevated, some nausea. But everyone is stable. That is normal, Ji-hoon said. He felt it himself. The weight of what they had done. They had just changed galactic warfare forever. No battle, no heroic stand. Just technology that made conventional combat obsolete. Yanwu was already analyzing the engagement. The entropy field exceeded expectations. All enemy vessels disabled simultaneously. No resistance possible. If the Vorathians share this data with their command, they will fear us. Good, Ji-hoon replied. Fear prevents war. They need to understand that attacking the Alliance means facing us. They need to understand the cost is too high. He sat back in his command chair. The first test was complete. The Absolute Zero worked exactly as designed. But he knew this was only the beginning. The Vorathian Empire would not accept this defeat quietly. They would respond. They would adapt. They would send more ships. And somewhere deep in Vorathian space, an emperor was receiving news that would change his empire's destiny. News that humanity possessed a weapon that rewrote the rules of galactic power. News that the war he thought won was about to become very different. The Vorathian emperor watched the battle reports with growing rage. 300 ships, his core armada, the most powerful military force in the known galaxy, all mobilized to destroy one human vessel. He sat on his throne in the Imperial Command Center deep within the home world. Around him, military advisors and fleet commanders waited nervously. No one wanted to speak first. No one wanted to be the target of the Emperor's fury. One ship. The Emperor finally spoke. His voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. Fleetmaster Zorgath lost 23 warships to one human ship. Without a fight, without firing a single shot. His chief military advisor stepped forward cautiously. Your Majesty, our scientists have analyzed the data. This entropy field technology is unlike anything we have encountered. It manipulates fundamental physics. Our shields cannot stop it. Our weapons cannot counter it. Then we destroy it with numbers, the Emperor declared. 300 ships cannot all be disabled. Send the core armada. Coordinate their attack. Overwhelm this human vessel before it can affect them all. The advisor bowed. It will be done, Your Majesty. 5 days later, the Absolute Zero received intelligence from Alliance scouts. The Vorathian core armada was moving. 300 capital ships. Thousands of support vessels. The largest military force deployed in a generation. All heading toward the neutral zone between Alliance and Vorathian space. Ji-hoon studied the tactical projections. His bridge crew worked quietly around him. They had won their first engagement easily. This would be different. Much different. 300 ships, Yanwu said from her station. Even with the entropy field at maximum range, we cannot disable them all simultaneously. Some will remain outside our effective radius. Sang-hee pulled up power consumption models, and we cannot maintain the field long enough to hit them in waves. 30 minutes of operation, then hours of cooldown. They will adapt their tactics. Keep ships spread out. Attack in rotating formations, Ji-hoon nodded slowly. He had expected this. The first battle demonstrated the technology. The second battle would test whether one ship could truly stop an empire. Captain, the communications officer called out. Incoming transmission from Admiral Daewon. Alliance fleet approaching our position. The view screen activated. Admiral Daewon appeared, standing on the bridge of his flagship. Behind him, tactical displays showed 200 Alliance vessels. Not as many as the Vorathian force. Not as powerful. But they had come. Captain Ji-hoon, Daewon spoke formally. The Alliance Council has authorized full support of human operations. My fleet will stand with you against the Vorathian Armada. Ji-hoon stood and bowed respectfully. Admiral, your support is appreciated. But my ship was designed to fight alone. Coordinate with your fleet. We cannot risk Alliance vessels in the entropy field's effective range. Understood. Daewon studied the human captain. I watched the battle reports from Andara. Your technology is impressive, but 300 Vorathian ships are a different challenge. Can you truly stop them? Ji-hoon considered the question carefully. Honesty was important. I do not know, Admiral. The Absolute Zero was designed as a deterrent. A weapon to prevent war, not to fight entire fleets. But we will do our best. Daewon smiled slightly. An honest answer. Good. We will position our forces to support you however possible. Perhaps we can buy you time to recharge between field activations. The transmission ended. Ji-hoon looked at his crew. They had heard the exchange. They knew the odds. 300 enemy ships versus one untested human vessel and a battered Alliance fleet. All crew, this is the captain. Ji-hoon spoke into the ship-wide communication system. In approximately 4 hours, we will face the Varathian Core Armada. They outnumber us significantly. They are experienced warriors. They expect to win. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But they have never faced anything like the Absolute Zero. They do not understand what we represent. We are not just a ship. We are humanity's statement to the galaxy. We are the proof that small nations can stand against empires. That technology can overcome raw power. We will fight smart. We will fight together. And we will show the Varathians why they should have accepted peace. Ji-hoon took a breath. All stations prepare for battle. This will be the longest day of our lives. 4 hours passed. The Varathian Core Armada emerged from FTL at the edge of the neutral zone. Their formation was impressive. 300 capital ships arranged in a massive sphere. Smaller vessels formed protective screens around them. The entire force moved with precise coordination. Yanwu analyzed their deployment. They have learned from Andara. Ships are spread across 50,000 kilometers, too far apart for our field to affect them all. They will attack in coordinated waves. Force us to choose targets while others close in. Smart tactics, Ji-hoon admitted. Sang-hee, can we modify the field? Increase range? The chief engineer shook her head. Not without reducing effectiveness. We could reach farther but with weaker impact. Enemy ships might remain partially functional. Then we use our advantage differently. Ji-hoon pulled up a tactical projection. We are faster and more maneuverable than their capital ships. We can position ourselves to hit their command vessels, break their coordination. The Varathian Armada began its attack. 50 ships accelerated forward in the first wave. Weapons charged. Missiles launched. The distance closed rapidly. Activate entropy field, Ji-hoon ordered. Target the first wave. The field expanded. 50 Varathian ships went dark. Their momentum carried them forward briefly before they drifted helpless. But immediately, the second wave attacked from a different angle. Another 50 ships, more weapons fire. Alliance forces engaged the second wave. Day One's fleet focused their fire on engines and weapons, not trying to destroy, just trying to slow them down, buy time for the Absolute Zero to recharge. Ji-hoon watched the battle develop. Varathian tactics were working. His ship could not be everywhere, could not stop every wave. The Alliance fleet fought bravely, but they were outmatched. Captain, field generators need 5 minutes to recharge, Sang-hee reported. Her voice showed stress. Enemy ships closing fast. We cannot reactivate in time. Yanwu highlighted a target on the tactical display. Captain, I have identified the Varathian command ship. It is staying back from the combat, coordinating the waves. If we disable it, their tactics will fall apart. Ji-hoon saw the opportunity immediately. The command ship was surrounded by escorts, protected, but it was the brain of the Armada. Cut off the brain, the body stops functioning effectively. How close would we need to get? He asked. Within 2,000 kilometers, Yanwu replied. That will put us inside their defensive perimeter. They will target us with everything. Sang-hee looked up from her console. Captain, our shields cannot take that much punishment. We will be destroyed before we get close enough. Not if we overload the entropy field, Ji-hoon said quietly. Push it beyond safe limits. Create a larger field. Stronger effect. Hit everything around us simultaneously. Sang-hee stared at him. That could destroy our generators. Potentially destroy the ship. We would get one shot. If it fails, we die. And if we do nothing, the Alliance loses this battle, Ji-hoon replied. The Varathians will continue their conquest. More worlds will fall. More people will die. He looked around the bridge. We came here to stop them. That is what we will do. Minji spoke from her medical station. The crew is with you, Captain. We knew the risks when we volunteered, Ji-hoon nodded slowly. He opened a channel to Admiral Day One. Admiral, the Absolute Zero is making an attack run on the Varathian command ship. We are going to overload our primary systems. If successful, we will disable their entire command structure. If we fail, continue the fight as best you can. Day One's face showed concern. Captain, that sounds like a suicide run. Perhaps, Ji-hoon admitted, but it is the best chance we have. He smiled slightly. Admiral, it has been an honor serving alongside you. The transmission ended. Ji-hoon looked at his crew one last time. Sang-hee, prepare the overload sequence. Hyunwoo, plot the fastest course to that command ship. All hands, brace for combat. The Absolute Zero turned and accelerated directly toward the heart of the Varathian armada, toward the command ship, toward destiny. Alarms screamed as Varathian weapons locked on. Energy blasts and missiles converged on the charging human vessel. Shields flared. Hull armor ablated. But the Absolute Zero kept coming, getting closer, closer, until everything went white.